Hi everybody, I'm Robert Hebert. This is today, welcome to NWI Educate. Today's show is, and this is a show that we're going to keep going and doing every single week. It's called Citizens View. Citizens View. Today, our today's guest and today's panel is Lee Sherrill. Lee Sherrill is a local hardworking mechanic, and we want to get the citizens' view of today's hot topics. And today's hot topics is Saudi Arabia reaction to Canada's two-line tweet. Is it an overboard? And the biggest thing is this situation, the way that they're escalating, is this a sign of what's to come with other nations and how other nations are handling things?
What did he tweet?
They tweeted that they cannot believe that Saudi Arabia detained a woman who is a women's rights activist in Saudi Arabia, which women have no rights. Yeah. And so they just simply, in a very polite but direct term, said, hey, we disagree with what you're doing. We think that it's inhumane. And they were so offended by Canada really negating their way of living, their way of life, that they've gone to all this extreme, the extreme of literally canceling all flights, ordering all assets to be liquidated in Canada. I mean, and this is all escalated over a series of 2 days.
That's crazy.
I know. Talk about overkill. They didn't just say, hey, they didn't just say, hey, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, I disagree with what you're saying. We have a right to choose how we want to live. We've been living this way for thousands of years. Instead, he goes to extremes and cuts off every tie, all communication, financial and otherwise, with Canada. Now, I mean, joking here is, it's Canada.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a major enterprise. Just to have accuracy, I mean, Saudi Arabians have $100 billion in assets outside of Saudi Arabia, in all countries. So the portion that's Canadian is probably less than $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they told off to sell. They said sell at all cost, regardless of the cost. So they're very, very serious. I mean, so is this? What I'm asking you is, Lee, is this, in your opinion, a sign of how of what's to come with politics? Is this the new norm with how countries are going to deal with it? Because if it's true, the international economic future looks pretty bleak. If everybody's going to pull out of everything. I mean, if Russia sold off all their holdings to the United States, it would launch the world into a financial crisis.
Yeah.
If China did the same thing. So are we into a new Trumpinian way of thinking, in your opinion? I mean, is this the sign of calm? Like the Trumpinian, using that in my own word here, is a way that somebody just flies off the handle with emotion without the benefit of intellect, saying I'm going to do everything and all this other stuff, but they're actually following through with it. What do you think about that?
It's just crazy the way people think. Just from a tweet, they shouldn't even.
2 sentences, not even a major tweet, just 2 sentences.
They shouldn't even tweet that in the first place, right?
Well, it's one country saying, hey,
but Saudi Arabia is a different,
Yeah, they have a different way of views that women
if
don't have.
Everybody does that, then the world would be in a lot of trouble, I think.
No, that's what This is the kind of thing we've really never seen a Middle Eastern country go this way before. I mean, they've never gone off the handle like this. They've always expressed discontent, but they've never really.
Sell all assets and stuff. Sell them off. That's crazy.
To sell off all assets, cancel all flights. They even recalled all of their diplomats.
Wow.
And they're pulling out of. They're basically cutting off all ties with Canada. Now, again, don't get me wrong. It's Canada. I'm joking, Canada. Don't get mad at me.
What if we did that to them?
Yeah, well, exactly. It would destroy. It would decimate. I mean, we're talking about levels of economy and trade that are, unparalleled when it comes to the world.
People always go to the extreme of everything.
They do, and and it's with all of these tweets that we see from our president, going out with, just really acting with emotion. If he's sitting at 11 o'clock at night watching TV, sitting up having a whatever, a cup of hot cocoa, and he sees something that he disagrees with, he sits here and flashes out a tweet that it offends everybody.
That would be dangerous.
And now we're seeing this happening with another country, but they're actually following through with their discontent. So what are your thoughts? I mean, is this the way of the future? I mean, and if so, our future looks pretty bleak.
It seems like it is with our president doing that.
I mean, it all started with him, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, because this whole thing happened with Saudi Arabia based on a Canadian tweet.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable.
We have to get rid of tweet.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just joking, Twitter. Please don't take offense. It's just I mean, it seems like everything now is, Twitter is the new politics. I mean, the president twitters, everything has to happen. Canadian actually share their opinion about how somebody got arrested or detained, and all of a sudden everybody's offended, and now everything's stemming off Twitter. Twitter, you're the new powerhouse of the world, apparently. Congratulations.
That's just crazy if the world's coming to that where somebody says something.
Yeah, the heck with negotiation.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable.
Let's just dispel it.
That really didn't mean anything anyway, right?
Yeah, it was like you or I, just saying, "Hey, Saudi Arabia, what are you doing? You're taking the rights, or you're retaining the rights of a woman who has a right to speak her mind, but in their country, you do not have a right to speak your mind."
That's crazy.
And so they're offended by you even, or having the audacity to tell them that. So now we're facing this new extremism, I think.
Yeah, it's a shame that they're like that, but you have to do business with them.
Well, I mean, we do, because, I mean, they represent a large portion of the world's oil reserves, which is kind of funny in a way, because we gave them that right way back when, but here we go again, biting us in the bum. But, it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, what if somebody, did that to us today? If we offended somebody to a point where they come back on us and cut off all relations to our entire town, so I don't know how many Canadians there are, but there's something like 35, maybe 30, 38 million Canadians. So all the business, because of this one person's tweet, all of Canada, who may have been benefiting from or or in some way are now facing this. But we're facing that new extremism in today, don't you think? Let's bring it down to TV shows. An average weekly TV show has a casting or an employment of about 200 people that work on the production on an average TV show. And then let's just say in the past few years, we've seen extremism. One with the gentleman on The Last Man Standing, I can't remember his name, Tim Allen or something like that.
Yeah.
And he mentions his political views, and so they canceled the show immediately, putting 200 people out of work, literally 200 people out of work because of one person's mouth. And they've never would have did that. It was always about ratings before. It was one of the #1 popular shows in America. And the same thing with Roseanne. Roseanne was the #1 new show of relaunch of a show, and they fired her because of one tweet. Here we go with Twitter again. Twitter is the powerhouse of the world. Because somebody says something on Twitter, and all of a sudden it becomes the holy gospel, and everybody gets fired. So the needs we become a country or the world where the needs of the few, in my opinion, outweigh the needs of the many.
That is true.
So instead of having 200 people employed with one show, one person slips up, the whole show goes. Everybody loses their employment.
That's crazy. Just for somebody to tweet something dumb like
Yes,
that.
exactly. So one person twitters, "Hey, I disagree with you," to Saudi Arabia, and whoa! You know what I mean?
That's unbelievable.
But that's what we see so many examples of that in other aspects, from media to entertainment, from Hollywood. Nobody wants to be politically incorrect. In the United States, I thought we had something called the freedom of speech, but we don't have that.
Everybody has their own views, but if everyone's going to get mad at what you say, then there's no way to stop that, I don't think.
Well, I think social media has a major playing in that. I mean, I think since, because when we were growing up, we didn't have the Twitter. If we wanted to tweet something, we wrote something on paper and physically delivered it to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nowadays, people get things in real time, so they don't have a time to think about, digest, and let things calm down. So if you and I had an argument, and I wrote something on a letter and sent it to you, there'd be that transitional time of you calming down, because you'd have 2-3 days before you got it. Today, it's 2-3 seconds.
And then you got millions of people looking at the same tweet most of the time.
And feeding the anger.
Yeah, feeding everybody to say that's, this is crazy.
It is crazy, and I really like to discuss, is this the new norm? It does. It really does, and that's a scary thing.
Unfortunately.
If reaction without response, reaction is acting without the benefit of intellect. You're acting with emotion without the benefit of intellect. Versus responses is we take 2 steps back, we think about what we're doing, and then we respond to it in an intelligent, well-meaningful way. But you can't have a conversation when both people are so angry that there's no logic there. It's all angry. It's all emotion.
Yeah, that's
And,
just,
you know,
I
and-
don't understand all that. Why people
Is that the new
listen to a tweet anyway.
Exactly. So
But-
is acting with emotion, is jumping out with rage the new norm? And if our leaders, if our world leaders, this,
They
you know,
tweet too.
yeah, the Saudi crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is the world leader for his country,
Yeah.
and now acting with emotion without the benefit of intellect is the new norm. What about these nuclear-based countries?
Yeah,
You know, what about all of these different,
scary,
all of these different economic situations where today we're all so tied together. If somebody decided to do this on a larger scale,
Yeah.
if Russia or China or the United States or some of the top 10 countries decided to lash out and cut off all ties financially and everything else with other countries, you're physically destroying the world's economy. And it drops the world, you're dropping investor confidence, which is going to mean people are going to pull their money out because they don't want to have that roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, we have a separatist view of economy. Now, like Trump's bringing us into isolationism, and in a lot of different ways, which is, keeping America strong, America's interests is always the best way to go. But on the other side is when you're doing it in such a way where you're cutting off and isolating the world from us.
Yeah,
When we're
that's
supposed to
not
be a
good.
world leader, we have to have a little bit of both coming in. We have to say, yes, America comes first, but we have to do it in such a way where we don't isolate the world.
Well, I think, the tweeting should stop, even from our president. If they got something to say to a world leader, why don't they just call him up?
Yeah,
Or he flies everywhere anyway, let him fly over there. You know what I mean?
heaven forbid we open up a dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Have a
I
conversation.
mean, why would you want to tweet something like that,
It's crazy. It's crazy. But what's even scarier
Is the
than that
consequences.
is how the reaction
Yeah,
comes
the
from.
consequences, that's terrible.
Somebody's not taking it as, oh, the guy just has a tweet.
Yeah.
He's just expressing himself. Now they're taking it as, oh my God, it's this diplomatic policy. When a Twitter feed, a two-sentence Twitter becomes diplomatic policy to a point where you act on it, that's a scary scenario. I mean, don't you agree?
Well, if me and you tweeted something, they weren't going to listen to it. But if you were a world leader, then you did something, then it's different. They shouldn't be doing that at all.
No, I mean, so, I would really feel bad if I was this feminist sitting in Saudi Arabia jail right now saying, wow, I just caused the entire economic
Yeah.
decay of two countries.
That's crazy.
But it's not her fault, but on the other side, it's pretty amazing. It's a pretty amazing thing. So, I really want to continue the discussion is this the new norm? Because this Canada-Saudi Arabia thing is a perfect example of what we're seeing. It's the largest example of what we've seen over the past years. We've seen Hollywood shows where major stars get canceled because of what they said. It started with Charlie Sheen several years ago, where he got fired for this, and then it went into the Tim Allen, and then it went into Roseanne Barr, and then it spread into politics. And and now, I mean, if a politician says something, it tweets something or texts something, I mean, like you said, I'd get rid of my phone. You know what I mean? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, when a Twitter account has that much political power, that's a pretty amazing thing. So,
Well, Twitter's not it shouldn't be nothing to do with politics.
it shouldn't, but
is.
it's an integral part, unfortunately.
It is. Somebody started that, and I don't know. who
And the
it was.
scary, and I agree, I mean, but the scary thing is the question that we have to constantly, attack is this the new norm?
It seems like
It
it.
is, instead of sitting down having a dialogue and actually engaging in conversation to resolve issues by identifying the problems and addressing each one step by step, we're focusing on, forget about all the problems, I just disagree with everything you're saying, so I'm going to do everything I can to hurt you.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything to try to resolve the situation or
Yeah.
identify what the problems
Made it
actually
worse.
are. We're just automatically just attacking each other without any response whatsoever. So
Yeah, that's.
we're talking about Canada and Saudi Arabia as an instance, but there are dozens and dozens and dozens of instances right here in our country where we see the same kind of reaction. And so the question we're going to constantly ponder is this the new norm? Is this what we're facing in America and the world today, where people jump to emotional reaction versus actually looking at a problem and trying to resolve it, with a proper frame of mind?
Yeah, it is the norm, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, if our president can do it, then anyone can do it.
That's a perfect example of what we're looking at. If the president can do it, everybody can do it. Well, the president shouldn't be doing it. But we'll discuss that on later shows. Today, I want to thank you so much for joining us for our first episode of the Citizens View. We hope to have a larger panel and get more in depth with subject as we go forward. But I want to thank all of you for joining us. I'm your host, Robert Hebert. And again, this is nwyeducate.com. Have a great day. Thank you.